morning, good evening, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate AI news essential, important, and optional, saving you a lot of time and pointing to trends. The articles are at gaiinsights.com/articles, and so please follow along and tell us what you think. We have Paul, John, and Pankaj from our regular crew. And we have a new guest analyst, Karen Pispisa, who has a lot of experience at Meta and other companies where she guided people in prompt engineering and how to use LLMs across the functions. So welcome, Karen. We're looking forward to your insights.
Thank you, and thank you for having me today.
Wonderful. Pankaj, let's start with the first article, please.
Sure, thanks, Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from our favorite Ethan Mollick, and he talks about real AI agents and real work.
Yes, this is a pretty short piece with some insights on where the current LLMs are, or where we have gotten in terms of AI usage and utilization. What did you think about this, John? John, you might be on mute. John?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to give this an essential because I might nitpick with him on whether or not, agent. Sorry. Well, first, a big point is that agents he thinks have passed the threshold from basically helping to do work to actually do stuff. And I might nitpick with him on that, but I think in the main he's right. And so some of the examples are the generation of PowerPoint slides and an argument. A really, really interesting one is the fact he could feed it an economic paper that with its data, and so and then from there you could replicate the actual science that was done reliably. And having been an academic, that is the gold standard to be able to. Although I don't know why we use gold standard; it's such a stupid idea. But anyway, it's the gold. I mean, if you think about what gold standard is, but the idea of being able to replicate from the data the same findings, which is, which has been a very important and sometimes controversial thing now, because a number of academic papers are shown not to be replicable, even though they were published. And in addition, in a lot of parts of academia, folks are publishing their data with their conclusions, which really now we can feed it to a robot and say, okay, can you actually replicate this thing? And this is somebody's making a claim. So I agree with him that moving from this notion of doing support to actually doing work is a big line, and that's getting to be more and more in the economy and these particular areas. So things like creating presentations and replicating academic papers all the way down to the findings, I think is a very important thing. So I was going to give it essential.
Yeah. So his main point is focus on what's worth doing, not what can be done. And that's a really good point. And it's then AI will make us more capable and not just productive. So a cool point. What did you think about this, Karen?
I appreciate Ethan Mollick's perspective always. I think he's very well grounded, and he substantiates his ideas with research, and examples and systematic testing. So I thought this was essential. I agree with John.
Wonderful. Pankaj, we're going essential. What did you think?
Essential it is, Luda. I think we are already seeing what Ethan is talking about in our regular day-to-day work as well. So there's a lot of noise around what agents should be, how autonomous they should be. But I think the basic definition of agent is something which can work autonomously in a loop, maybe for some amount of time, right? And they can help us achieve a task. So a lot of the tools that we have right now, whether it's deep research, agentic mode, PowerPoint creation, right? So they are able to do that. So I think people should look at agents like a utility, where they are trying to achieve something through them rather than looking at automating complex workflows as such in organizations.
Yeah, very good point. Paul, we're going essential. There are a number of things, and he steps back and says, here's the 4 reasons why LLMs have gone over the threshold of being just tools, but they're very capable. And if you scroll down, Ankaj, he highlights those 4 areas: that long tasks in single turn, self-correction, small gains lead to exponential gains in performance over long horizon. The scaling model size enables execution of longer tasks, no, above a little bit. Yeah. So where he has had 2 by 2. Yeah, Paul, but we're going essential on this one.
Yeah, totally essential. I mean, we're desperately, and I don't know if John and I have time to do it. We desperately need of a better language on the next set down here. I mean, agents are now like computing. We need to start breaking this down even more. So is it task completion on a single task for an individual, create a PowerPoint? Is it a whole string of one for a long 20-hour thing? We're already seeing multiple tasks on the research side where you find an article and have another one judge it. But definitely. I think also for the AI leader, it's just another milestone on how a year ago we were all skeptical this would even be in production. And now we have multiple examples of, in system production. Blue Cross Blue Shield this week have 150 in production on individual production for creating a PowerPoint. So it really is another breathtaking milestone on how mainstream this capability has become.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I agree with Paul. Like for me, maybe it's something around first, can you just do the task? Can you answer the question? And then can you frame the question, answer the question? And can you, and then within that, how many of the steps can you do, or can you recreate it? I agree with you. We need a taxonomy of activity. And, the very popular thing by Clay Christensen on quote unquote jobs to be done. I never understood that as popular, but people love it. Anyway,
but John, I think that's even not. I think it's even more nuanced than that. I mean, we got such good feedback on a maturity model on where it was. It's almost maturity model, a sophistication model for the agents. Oh, that's a level 1 agent, single task.
I agree,
that's a level 4 agent that's multiple tasks that goes more than 5 hours or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So humans are structurers of what needs to get done, what's important, and AI is a doer in tasks and agents, and let's get it done. Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed to the next one, Ankash, please.
Sure, Luda. So the next one comes from Anthropic, and it is titled Effective Context Engineering for AI Agents.
Yes. Karen, this is your area. Please tell us what you thought and summarize it for us, please.
Sure. Thank you. So this article from Anthropic, one of the large foundation model companies, is really about how the field of prompt engineering is morphing into context engineering. That means curating the right mix of information to give an LLM such that it can pull and extract the correct answer. When you have too much information going into the context window, you kind of default the attention budget of any LLM. And that can lead to something called context rot, or the inability to find the needle in the haystack. This article is really important for anybody enacting multi-agent systems, as Paul was just saying. So one of the things that they recommend is to really look at the amount of tokens you put into the initial prompt and the context that you inference with the initial prompt to make it much more concise, and then architect the context behind the prompt. There are 3 methods that Anthropic recommends to do that. The first is compaction, where another agent takes a very long conversation and summarizes it, and then pushes the summary into the task prompt. That's one way to go. The second is structured note-taking, where another agent takes notes in the background of the multi-agent orchestration and then feeds those notes and references them at different times through the multitask completion. And that's important for maintaining state memory. So as you get toward multi-agent configurations, the state memory becomes very important so the agent doesn't get lost or fall off of its goal of completing the tasks that you've assigned it. The third method is sub-agent architectures, and that's really the ability to use an orchestrator agent to govern an entire task process or an entire workflow, and then have other agents with very clean inference windows such that each one can do a deep task in the agent workflow. That deep task might take 1,000 to 2,000 to 10,000s of tokens and return a response anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 tokens to inform the orchestrator and the next agent in the process. These techniques are great when you're looking at autonomous agents because we want to make sure that each agent in the workflow, in the task process, is coherent, accurate, and uses the smartest decision-making it can and supports the orchestrating agent with smart decision-making. So I actually rate this article as essential. I'm doing context engineering myself and see the accuracy gains and performance gains that this approach can bring to a multi-agent system.
Thank you, Karen. This was very well articulated, and thank you for the essential. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was between important and essential for that reason, but I agree with you. I mean, the ability to do context. I mean, I think that what we're starting to do is implicitly define the taxonomy of memory, and memory is such an important part of. And I'm talking about task memory, not computer memory, although obviously. And I think that if you look analytically at how models look at things, or let's think that's not the right way to put it. If you look at our mental model of models, that we're expanding it to now really talk about memory, and something back with in the age of symbolic AI, God forbid, ancient history, that we worried a lot about that. Like, what's the representation, and when you think of some of the foundational work of guys like Marvin Minsky, he essentially was creating a theory of memory when he came up with the idea of frame, like, well, how do you define a table? That was creating the atomistic parts of memory. And so I think what we're doing, Karen, is inductively realizing, oh my goodness, memory actually matters. Thank you. Not to be so cynical. So, but I do think, we've got training, we've got inference, and we've got memory, and that memory is a representation system. And then the interactions of problem solving sit in the context of all those things. So I think I can be convinced of essential, because I absolutely think that both within the LLMs and I think we're going to continue to go to multi-representation models, deterministic ones, semantic ones, and they're going to interact. So I think we're on a path there.
Okay. So Ankash, so we have two essentials. Ankash, okay with essential?
Yes, Luda, essential for me as well. I think in a multi-agent environment, context engineering is even more important than prompt engineering. So essential read.
Yeah, I really think this is the language to talk to LLM, right? And this has to be everywhere. Everybody needs to understand this. So I was also essential. Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think we got to continue and evolve our language here. I think there's if prompt engineering means that's just what the humans put in the box and what we teach them about that, I still think there's important stuff about that. If context engineering is all the stuff that goes around the outside. I was at Harvard yesterday as part of the Harvard AI Week, and they had a fantastic presentation on what they're learning on using AI for teaching kids physics. And one of the things they're doing is, if you go right now, and if one is that you teach them before or after they read the stuff. Second is, if you just teach them, tell me about this concept, the models end up giving you way too much and it overwhelms the students. And what they're learning, Karen, is in the context in the engineering is to put a whole bunch of context in there. It's use active learning, only give short answers. Ask the students here, so you can actually start really transforming the human experience based on what you're actually doing with the context engineering, which to me is just another part of the requirements. So and that nuance of moving to what's behind the curtain when a human puts a natural language thing is a really important part of the human to AI experience. So I definitely agree with this. And so Karen, I thought your articulation beginning was excellent.
Thank
Yes.
you. That's a great ad, especially coming, out of Harvard. I think that, UX cannot be undervalued in AI. And I think, to encourage adoption, especially by enterprises, it's highly important to have that UX and that concise back and forth conversation. So I appreciate that point, Paul.
Well, and I think it's not only that, it's a UX, and and they had 3 presentations yesterday, and all 3 of them emphasized the importance of having an explicit, ideal customer profile really well defined behind that. So you're actually going in the UI and said, this is the type of person the human just put it in there, answered a certain way, which I thought was a nice progression on how we think about these things.
Amazing.
Amazing. How quickly we're evolving. That's amazing as well. Okay, essential it is. Let's
I know
yeah,
we're
John?
what I think we're doing is, I mean, if you go back in cognitive science, the early knowledge engineering, all that other stuff, and how people actually talk and learn, I mean, I think what we're starting to do is mostly inductively, and I hope we also get to deductively. We're defining the cognitive space based on, the way I think about it is like with Shannon's law of communication, which is what are the semantics? How, how much information is being exchanged and how much noise is there in the channel? And we're defining that space, trying to approximate what the, is like my dear friend Paul would say, monkey brains, which size monkey brain do we have in the conversation? And the miraculous thing about these things is you'll be able to create facets of interaction with that cognitive space that is adjusted to you, whether it's your language or your understanding or your style. And, that's just, I mean, think about that. I mean, that's going to accelerate learning like unbelievably.
Yeah, totally. Okay. We'll probably have to pick up speed here. Okay, so let's proceed to the next one, Ankash.
Sure, Luda. So the next one comes from Google Research, and it is titled The Anatomy of a Personal Health Agent.
So for the healthcare folks, this is essential. For the rest of the leaders, it's a great use case, but I think it's between optional and important. What it is, it's a great effort by Google, compiling information from across the board, from data available in data banks, and then 1,200 users' feedbacks and their blood tests, and then extensive survey. So they took that data and then compiled it into a platform that focused on 4 critical user questions: general understanding of health information, wellness advice, personal data insights, and personal understanding personal medical symptoms. And then the article goes into how well this personal assistant did across those areas in just the model itself, then the adjusted model, and then this personal assistant, and show that the accuracy was quite dramatically better, and the whole parameter across the board, the parameters, the quality was way better. And so this is a massive advancement for the healthcare space, I feel, and certainly an essential for the healthcare space. For the rest of the leaders is a great example of how you could actually get a lot of information and build a platform that can be useful across the industry. So optional to important, however. So I'd love to hear what other people think. What did you think, Karen?
I think it's really important to dive deep into various vertical industries, and I think this is a wonderful attempt by Google to really explore how AI can map to consumers of healthcare, which we all are, and also to incorporate and improve upon a product that is widely used. I use my Fitbit every day and appreciate its abilities. So I feel like the more advancements in terms of bringing AI to that interface can help, not only the end user, but also Google as it expands to edge devices. And I think that is one big direction that the industry is going to take.
So in your mind, is it like, should we mark it essential? Should we leave it as important or optional?
I would say it's, boy, I'm between, like you, Luda, I'm between optional and important, tending toward important because I really appreciate the user-centered design approach. I think that's super important, especially as you're dealing with personalized healthcare issues and people's own, proprietary information, and keeping that safe is paramount.
Okay. John, what were your thoughts?
This to me is absolutely essential, and the reason is they're putting together in the context of a very, very powerful and important area of personal health that is huge and growing. Is that this notion of a data science agent, domain expert agent, health coach agent? So that's domain agent, right? Kind of coach agent, like how you use it, and then what it means for you. That structure to me, we're finally getting past the idea of robot as a person, and we're going to robot as a posse, right? The people have to understand that we're calling out a posse of experts from a silicon hive mind that's growing very quickly. This is the first step toward an interface to get people to understand that. And I think it's completely generalizable. So for that reason, essential.
Okay. Going essential. I kind of agree with you that for generalizable purposes. Ankash, essential, important?
No, essential, Luda. I think it translates to every other area really well. Those three different types of agents, right? So for that reason, essential.
Okay. Paul, essential.
Great.
Right?
A lot of essentials this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essential it is. Okay. Let's proceed to the next one.
We can't let naive statistics guide our judgments, Paul, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well,
Okay,
we have
the next
3 essentials today already.
We had 3 at the conference, didn't we?
I guess. Okay. And next one, Ankash, and please.
Sure, Luda. So the next one comes from ServiceNow, and they have launched April 1.5 15 billion thinker model, and its title "Mid-Training is All You Need."
Yes. John, could you please let us know what you thought in some?
Yeah, I was between optional and important on this. They're adding, as a very, very, high performance, smaller model, and they added, new kinds of media reasoning within this thing. And it's interesting. ServiceNow as a service company starting to build their models, themselves, which I think is a really interesting indicator. I think basically any service company is going to have to start at least tuning, if not building, their own models, because we see this massive wave of services software. But I'm on the fence between optional and important on this one.
Okay, well, let's see whether Ankash can move you to one or the other. Ankash, what did you think?
Luda, I was with John on this, so I was also between optional and important for this one.
Right.
While it's great on reasoning, right? They have compared it to various other models, and it does really well on the reasoning aspect. It's a smaller model, right? So lesser bill of usage, so that's great as well. But then all the small models that are there in the market right now, so Gamma from Google and the 5.4 series from Microsoft, they have, I would say, similar performance, and we haven't seen a lot of adoption of those across enterprises. We have seen examples, maybe Intuit using some of those and some other enterprise using them, but we haven't seen as widespread adoption as some of the OpenAI and Anthropic models of these smaller models coming out of various vendors, various open source models as well. So for that reason, I was optional, but certainly an important development if we look at the broader enterprises or broader service vendors, as John said, developing their own models and maybe utilizing these models to reduce their cost base.
So moving towards optional because of the crowded space and not low adoption. Karen?
The pace of AI is changing fast, and models are released, every 2 to 3 months. So I think, the advent of a new model gives enterprises another option. And I think the most important thing is to consider model selection for your specific use case or your agent construction. So it may be a perfect fit for what you're trying to achieve, but also there's, the whole selection process. And often when a new model comes online, it is a bit more, I call it leaky to work with. So it can offer a little bit, wacky behavior for a while until they smooth things out in the background, update it, and then go forward. So I would absolutely consider it optional until the model's proven out in production.
Yeah. Okay. Optional it is. Paul, agree?
Optional product now.
Okay,
2 million models out there now these days.
Yeah, now it's like every day, right? Okay, so the next one is also a model from Ankash.
Liquid AI.
Liquid AI.
Yes, Luda. Right. So this is optional as well, Luda. So Liquid AI, they have launched as part of their LFM2 series, they have launched an audio model, which is 1.5 billion parameter model. But there's not a lot of detail here, not a lot of comparison with other set of models. So I would say another model release and another optional product announcement.
Okay. Yeah, I would go with optional, guys. Anybody disagree? Okay, let's go optional on this one, and let's proceed to the next one, Ankash.
Right, Luda. So the last one comes from VentureBeat, and it talks about how Microsoft has retired AutoGen, and it has a new agent framework to unify and govern enterprise AI agents.
A very good effort by Microsoft. Now it's a little clearer what they have in the agent space. What did you think about this, Karen?
I think this is a great evolution because the first launch of AutoGen was open source, and they have lost one of the founders. Microsoft's one of the founders, Chi Wang from Microsoft, has moved on, and Microsoft's looking for a way to merge semantic kernel and AutoGen, and they've done this in Agent Framework. It offers a very competitive offering to multi-agent system development, and it is in line with anything from LongGraph, Vertex from Google, and this also runs on Azure, which is one of the main platforms. So I think this is a great advancement. It also, the reason it's good is it's put in a lot more safety efforts, including task adherence in multi-agent systems, PII detection, which is super important. We don't want to see any of that leak, and then prompt shields that keep the agent safe and on track. This gives you more control, stronger security, and easier agent management and orchestration. I really think this is an optional article. If you were or are an AutoGen customer, you want to be aware of this. If you are not and you use another platform, I think that is, optional for you.
Yeah. Okay. So optional from Karen. What did you think, John?
Yeah, I was on the fence between important and optional. Paul and I were at a dinner. No, Paul, you weren't at dinner, actually. I was at a dinner with a guy from Microsoft, and you'd appreciate inside Microsoft, in one part of it, they're generating 1,700 agents a day, and then they're deciding about 1% of those, or a little less than that they'll actually publish. So this agentic activity is way bigger than I thought it was. So, and this is a nice framework. So I was going to give it important, but I could live with optional. It's early.
Well, it's not only early, and if you are in Microsoft Shop, you will discover it. There's no way avoiding it, right? But if you're not, that's optional for you. Ankash, what do you think?
I think optional news, Luda. I agree with Ashi's comment that it is a rebranding effort. Seems like so. A lot of these new functionalities, they were also available in the older framework as well, and I think it's becoming a competitive market now with similar frameworks from Google, IBM, Anthropic, right? So we need to observe which one becomes the dominant one. Right now it's the one from Anthropic, but everybody is launching their own frameworks so that more and more enterprise adoption can go their way. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Paul, optional. Okay. Okay, great. All right. So as Ankash prepares the scorecard, Paul, you were not here yesterday, and John, you were not here. Maybe a couple of words on the conference.
Sure. I think it. We had a fantastic conference. I want to thank all our participants and sponsors, and certainly the GAI team that did so much work to make this happen. It was just the thing that really, I took three lessons out of it. First, the thing that Ethan pointed out, which is that we're getting to real, task activity. Second, we're talking about two populations. If we take for granted the stats that the MIT study came up with, which I don't think was that well done, but let's just use it as a thinking thing. 5% of people really implementing, 95 not. The important thing is not to look at the 95, it's look at the 5, because each of those leaders, there's going to be a leader. If somebody's doing the 5% in your industry, you're going to have to compete with them. And the third thing is the importance. Nobody is talking enough about the maturity of your organization and building this capability. We have this RISE framework where we talk about research and experimentation, innovation and islands of implementation, synchronizing and scaling, the S part, and then E, emergent intelligence that happens on the back of that. There are so many people who jump around, who don't have experience with it. We're saying, let's transform. Let's not automate the past and pave the cow paths. The answer is no. If you don't have any experience, pave the cow paths so you understand how to use this stuff. And after, you have enough expertise and enough capability in the organization, then you're ready to redesign. Every time we've seen somebody try to jump to stage 3 without doing 1, 2, they fail miserably, because this is such a complex thing to understand. You need enough capability, even if you're buying it into the organization, to understand what you're working with. Just like we're talking about, it's not a human being, it's a hive mind that you can use. It's agents, it's different. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. So really those 3 things, it's happening, 2 populations, and maturity, I took away. I don't know about you, Paul.
Thank you, John. Paul, we're slightly out of time, so quick bite from you, please.
I'll wait. Our learning lab this Monday, we're going to be going through, but just a fabulous conference, and we're still getting so many emails back from people who like high value. So appreciate everyone participated in person and live via the YouTube.
Yeah, no, thank you both for orchestrating it. This was really well received. Karen was there, I was there, so this was tremendous. Okay, so for today, we have 3 essentials and 3 optionals, 50-50 type of day. Thank you all for participating, Ashish, Valda, and comments. And Karen, thanks for your summaries. Really appreciate you joining. We'll see you all tomorrow.